bitrate. And I said on a Patreon thing. So real quick, going over the stuff that I think I just talked with Josh about, that he went to bed. So Josh isn't at this sync up. I've got a list of stuff in our project management tool that I put together for him this week based on a couple of conversations for Blade Symphony work. So for those who are watching this or will watch this later, there are some perks that we're doing for Blade Symphony that you would earn based on the level of your character. And so he's implementing a couple of those perks, one of them being like glowing swords and sword glow colors. So when you get to a certain level, you'll be able to like unlock a specific style of purple. Like it'll be called passionate purple or so. I don't know, something themed in like the Blade Symphony universe for being something that like maybe a purple that only the vagrants would wear or something like that. So he's working on a couple of those different perks. There's a big list that we're putting together. I think I mentioned this last week that we're going to split up character progression or progression based on characters instead of it being just based on the user. So you might have a level 15 phalanx, but you might also have a level 6. I keep on wanting to say vagrant, but really his name is Ryoku. And then when you get to certain levels with, say, Ryoku, you would unlock like a purple which is like called vagrant purple, for applying to your armor or applying to your sword or whatever it might be. Obviously, you will unlock swords and armor and other cool things. We talked about the stencil background stuff. I was totally... I did not understand that when you talked with Josh Garrett. I thought you guys were saying like putting just a very flat plain texture stencil like right behind the character and it being like a transparent thing that would serve as like almost like a flag. But what he's saying is using like a 4096 by 4096 texture to put behind the character where it would be like a whole new background.
Yeah, because I was thinking like replace the background for a little bit, then just show the character and then like fade it away or do something.
Oh yeah, like do a transition in and out. I think that I think that's a super neat idea. We just have very few artists that can do something like that right now. So I'd probably talk to the community about seeing that kind of stuff. Or I mean, we can get Spire. There's a couple of the artists from Mighty Rabbit I could probably get.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what Josh has been working on, and then he's still, I think, working on the free-to-play API stuff, which is supposed to integrate with the Backend API. And then speaking of the Backend API, Garrett, if you want to talk about that real quick, and then we can get to the real cool meat stuff.
Yeah, let me screen share real quick. If I can figure out how to do this. Here we go. Boom. Share. Boom. So this is what I'm working on. This is the Backend API. Basically what you do is you come into the website. This is barely any kind of styling right now.
Mm-hmm.
But you sign in, you can connect using Steam, takes you to the Steam OpenID stuff. You put in your information. I don't have it from that point, but what it'll do is it'll create like a supporter account for you automatically once you log in. And then when you log in, it looks up your old supporter account. From there, you'll be able to tie your Steam ID to a Patreon and to Discord. And what we can do with that information, and that's what this is right here. This is some sample junk data that I created that shows how we tie people's Steam IDs to Patreon IDs to Discord IDs. And then also maybe collect some demographic information from you, like your email or whatnot. None of this stuff is public. It is only for our own internal stuff. So that way, if you log into this, set it all up, Blade Symphony, for example, will know what your Discord ID is, what your Patreon ID is, how much you're supporting us, so we can grant you items and things like that. That way.
Okay.
We were also discussing looking up what games you own and maybe doing some supporter stuff that way too. So might
that's right. We did talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. This will this sort of like before. I don't. I try not to put the cart before the horse, but I have to admit, the last 2 weeks I've been doing that with like talking about pitches and new projects and stuff. But like the Patreon, the Backend API, and the Blade Symphony Free-to-Play release are definitely two things that we have to, like, they are must-haves before we can do, like, essentially make, put ink to paper on new projects. Like, we can certainly come up with pitches as far as, like, we should go. But that's really good progress. The fact that you've got it like to an app where they can just click like log in and it'll take them to their Steam site. Yep. And then I imagine once they're logged in, it'll just take them back to a similar like gray looking website where it's like,
where it's like link your Patreon and link your Discord.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 bada boom.
Got that information, and then we can hook it into the free-to-play API and to Galicide and to Dystopia and start giving out some cool items and putting some things in game. Cool, neat.
And we can always style it later too. Give it a little Puny style.
Yeah, we'll do something like that. And then I think, so I give the free-to-play update. Anything else with the backend API while I'm thinking about it?
Nothing to know of.
Okay. So for those who will be watching later, we had a conversation earlier in the week about new projects. And I think it was a really cool conversation. Yeah. Historically, like, when we've done new projects with Being Human, we've been fairly pragmatic with our approach, which is good. We still want to be that. Like, we still want to approach it very analytically. But we were also fairly democratic, so that we would get everyone together and have this like big 4-hour meeting where everyone would put their pitches forward and then we would all vote. And while that made sense for like an adhocracy style of thing, like we may have voted, but not everybody. And we saw this with like Flex, right? Like, we didn't choose his pitch, which in hindsight, it's like a really awesome pitch. Don't get me wrong, but I'm still pretty, I think everyone's still, the fact that like, Galicide won out. That was just the nature of the voting. And it just means like, because we're voting, there's going to be a couple of people, or somewhere there's going to be some people that are just not fans of what is put forward. So after our conversation and all the different ideas that we had kind of come up with, I started thinking, and I wrote this in the developers channel, about how we could do sort of this natural development thing. And I talked to you about this, Garrett, but I didn't mention this to you, Brun. Basically the idea, I think I said this in dev channel to you, Brun. Okay. Was pretty much possibly. Like, if we can
real quick, our video is unavailable on YouTube.
Oh, okay. Well, at least it's recording. Yeah. I don't know why it's unavailable, but Hangouts on Air can go fuck itself.
See, you're sworn. Now we can't put it on YouTube.
Yeah. Now, Google, I don't know. I
think Google cares,
and it showed up just fine. Okay. So either way,
it's showing up unavailable for me.
Yeah. Sorry. What?
It's showing up unavailable for me.
Oh, is it? Okay. It's showing for me.
Probably because you're the owner of the video.
Yeah. I don't know how to change like what it is, like why it is that it's not showing up. This is one viewer.
It's probably you.
Okay. Well, let's just go under the guise that it's being recorded, and then we'll then the supporters can watch it here in a little bit, because most of them are kind of I think offline anyways. I don't know. I can't really. Yeah, so I'll try and fix it here in a second. But the idea was basically that I think after our conversation on Tuesday, I think we all pretty much agreed that we wanted to try and like at least tackle a multiplayer game. And that was fairly out of like the necessity, like just knowing that there is a lot of premium indie games that have come out over the last 2 years that are like, I don't know, Firewatch, and I mean, fucking we just saw a bunch come out, with Ruiner, Hob, Cuphead's coming out, that are all like single player games that are smaller, made by smaller companies, smaller indies that are premium, but require a lot of art. It's like a lot of artwork that does that. And we have like almost no artists. So doing like having a programmer heavy team and doing like a multiplayer game kind of made sense. So just sort of hitting it from like a natural angle. The idea behind this was, let's just load up like a UE4 multiplayer template, like maybe like a shooter game template, get it networked, get it building to all of the different machines so that we can just grab it from Steam And it's not going to be like any fun at first, but like just all jump in there and like fuck around, like just start jumping at each other, jumping over physics objects, running into each other, trying to crouch, trying to, to shift around and just talk about what we like, what we enjoy, what's fun, whether we should change the view or, whether we should change air control or movement or, just really take it from a fairly natural aspect as opposed to trying to sort out all the different pitches that we like based on games we like. Because like Garrett and I think we agree that we tend to like some shooter games. Like we like some shooter games. But then like Josh came in and was like, I like Paper Mario. Well, he didn't ask that, or he didn't say that. He asked if anyone had heard of it, but
yeah,
it was just like very apparent that we all like different games. So trying to figure out something that trying to figure out the key elements of games that we all share, I think was sort of the motivator behind just essentially getting a shooter game template up and just getting all getting in and fucking around with it. Does that make sense, Brune?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I kind of, I don't know, I've messed around with shooter game a lot, so I kind of know how it acts and whatnot. So I can definitely tell you I'm going to find it way too slow on the movement right off the bat. I'm going to be like, we need to turn this movement up.
Yeah, let's crank it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just make a couple changes in the build and then and the hope would be like very fast prototyping that's collaborative, right?
Yeah.
Because if you think the movement's slow, I'm sure I'm gonna agree with you 100%. I'm a Quake moving guy, kind of like TF2 is fucking slow. Overwatch is wicked slow for me. I'm really excited to try the Lawbreakers free weekend this weekend.
Oh yeah.
So that I can give that a shot. I'm hoping that's going to be fast enough for me. But yeah, so the intent would be like you would say it's slow, and then you would go and make that change, check it in. We'd still be in the server, and then like 20 minutes later, a build would be done and uploaded to Steam, and then we would just start our Steam client. Oh, Gesundheit. So that was the idea of that quick prototype.
I think it'd be more interesting if we could actually even go one further and kind of find the things that we want to prototype at least, and we'll have to do this eventually. But if we can make server variables that, okay, I'm just going to go run this command. Everyone's going to go, like run faster.
Changing gravity or changing air control.
Yeah. Obviously that would be reserved for, features that we go back and forth on like, do you like this more? You like this more? You like this more? You like this more?
Right.
And that way, then you can get a direct comparison side by side as you're playing it. The other thing I've noticed is that a lot of times games start out with prototype code, and it is like frame rate dependent. In fact, Squad had frame rate dependent code and still does to certain degrees. And that's a big issue I've seen in several teams where it's like, no, jumping's great, dude. Jumping's awesome because I'm running it at 150, frames per second, and you're running it at 3, so you jump way too little and all of that. So I think I don't know necessarily how to directly fix that, but some things you can kind of grab analytics from. So if you grab, say, the jump height off of every single client, you would obviously see that issue. But that may not be again, that would just be another tool we should kind of set up and be ready to.
So I think that's a fantastic idea that we take it almost one step further and do that, and maybe even almost make it sandboxy in a Gary's mod
kind of way, yeah.
Where we just create some fucking basic sliders and shit where we can change air control and we can change jump radius, jump velocity, jump height, just all that kind of stuff, like jump curve, and then start really trying to find a good fluid motion. Because I'm sure that we'll have our disagreements about certain movement styles, and it will depend on what kind of game that we're interested in. But we'll see. So that, I guess that was the intention there, was that not really looking to make a game out of the beginning. It's really more or less trying to figure out what we all like as a team. Because even if we just scrap this whole shooter game project,
Right,
we would have walked away knowing,
Yeah.
and make it fun.
and ideally we would be able to at least like bring over parts of it and be like, okay, we know the character movement should be like set up like this because it's Epic's thing, and the values don't wouldn't change from game to game really, or like as long as we liked it. And so we can bring our values while whatnot.
Yeah.
I kind of want to test out Dungeon Architect. I don't have it, but I hear
I do.
Yeah.
I can push it.
Yeah. We could definitely fuck around with a lot of different proc gen like dungeons. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I have a top down sci-fi thing assets that I can dump into a project with some guns I can come up with, and I don't know. Do we need a mini map?
We could. I mean, Dystopia had one, but I mean, it kind of depends on what. I guess
we do. Yeah.
I'm looking more so at like trying to figure out the basics of games that we like and less the features. Like the basics being where the camera is, whether we like first person, third person, overhead, isometric, whether we want to control a character, control multiple characters. I mean, I would assume that we would be controlling one character and this wouldn't be like an RTS thing.
I would actually think controlling multiple characters in first person, but not at a time, but like I guess jumping from people to people might be interesting.
Yeah, swapping. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the idea behind that. Sorry, behind that idea. What were you going to say, Garrett? I interrupted you.
Don't worry about it.
We're just kind of brainstorming everyone's.
Yeah, just because that was a big thing that like Twin and Termi and Spire and I used to do back in the day on Dystopia development, is that we played a lot of games together. Because we all we would play Dystopia a lot, but we all pretty much enjoyed the same games. Like, I hope that you guys can play Lawbreakers this weekend since it's a free-to-play.
I play a little bit.
Yeah,
I haven't installed still from the last time it was free, the open beta.
Okay.
I didn't install the beta. I've never played, but I definitely.
I'm not a fan of it, but for other reasons.
Try for sure.
The core of the game, I enjoy the core of the game. I'm not a fan of it for the metagame around it.
Okay.
Is it a lot of like micro transaction metagame, or is it
that and like you have like a bunch of classes that are all completely irrelevant and stuff like that? I don't know, I wasn't a fan of the Overwatch direction they went in. Because I played really early alpha before they added the class-based system, and I really liked it. And then they added a class-based system that's akin to Overwatch, and I don't like it that much anymore.
I do think a class-based system would be really interesting to add to shooter game. Kind of like I don't know. I kind of want to be able to like cut through things like that in a spaceship.
Oh, that would be neat.
And go steal a vault style, like you guys ever play Monaco or something?
And
you just want to rush in there.
Have you played Streets of Rogue?
I've not. I don't have it. Wait, I think I do have it. I should try.
It's a city where you have to like break down walls, and like it generates 3 procedurally generated objectives, like steal an item, kill a person, bribe somebody, stuff like that. Just random objectives. And it's up to you to figure out how to solve those objectives with the things that are going on around you. So like one of the things you can do is, for example, genetically modified gorillas hate scientists. So if your assassinate target is a scientist and he's in a room filled with caged genetically modified gorillas, you can hack the computers to open up the gates or the cages and let the gorillas out, and the gorillas will kill the dude for you. as an example.
Right. So
or
his death just needs to happen.
Yeah, or you can just like blow all and start shooting everybody up. You can do that.
I'm totally for stuff like that. In fact, heat signature happens.
Very similar.
Has this like war zone thing when you accept a mission, and especially if you accept a war zone mission to assassinate someone, you could like sometimes just hit the fast forward button and just wait it out, and it will take care of itself. Although I mean that is also kind of
It's got
I don't know. Yeah, it's cool, and it's kind of I don't know. It's weird to reward the player for technically doing nothing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you could easily fix that, right? You can manipulate it so that way the assassination target will never die on its own, but you could lead an enemy ship into the fighter range of the assassinate target ship, and then they fight, and then you've done something.
we could do that. The other thing I could think of is kind of like a way, like, I guess the thing would be in real life, you would then have to persuade the person that you got the contract from somehow that you in fact did assassinate that person. So you could also turn that part into a game and say, okay, so then you did this, therefore you're going to have to do this mini game because like or you know, not necessarily a punishment, and hopefully, you know, something they find fun. This small section that you can kind of say, hey, this is the reason why you're playing this, and you're only going to play this during this, would be actually fairly interesting. You know, kind of like a talking mechanic, I guess. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
Okay. So I think we should aim to start working on this over the next 2 weeks. Not like vigorously, but at least get it set up.
Sure.
Just slowly over the next 2 weeks. Just like some system. Like if you've already got it on VSTS, which it really, I guess I can.
So that's all done. It's up on VSTS with Git LFS. So that's all done.
Okay. So then I guess I'll just take like 2 or 3 hours next week. I'll set up a Jenkins thing for it to deploy.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe we'll schedule some time for all of us to like just play for like an hour and talk again. Maybe not this coming Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. And just take it slow for now and just talk about what we like in games and shooters. And
we should add a grappling hook.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of things that we'll want to add, but again, I'm looking for like the basic stuff for sure.
Hey, grappling hook could be basic if you make
the basic elements of a game.
I have never successfully implemented, so I don't know if something easy. No, I've never successfully implemented. I've done some unsuccessful attempts, quite a few
of a grappling hook.
Yeah, but I've never successfully implemented a grappling hook, and by successful I mean it's one I like. It's been weird.
Yeah, I mean, with UE4, I've never really done. I'm trying to think of all the feature I have added. The thing closest thing I've ever made was a jump pad that very specifically landed you in a very specific spot following a spline.
Okay.
Yeah, that was for heavy gear assault. Because the gears way different and everything, but you need this jump pad to jump you to this spot every single time. Otherwise, it didn't make sense as a jump pad. Like that's how they worked in lore. Yeah.
Backing up just for a second and talking about this, thinking about timelines here. As I said earlier, obviously, until the free-to-play API is done. Sorry, the Backend API and Blade Symphony Free-to-Play is done. Like, we wouldn't be putting any significant amount of time, like maybe an hour or two a week into this kind of stuff. Because as it stands right now, like I'm going to be funneling a bunch of the money I make on like other clients into the bank so that we can hopefully like pay ourselves more when it comes to doing this work. So
transition into in a game.
Yeah, like I'm taking a cut on what I do for my old job and putting it into the bank to pay for
That's
us
cool.
later. So that when it comes to like actually sitting down and doing like close to 4 or 5 hours a day of prototyping work, we can pay ourselves something a little more livable. And I think one other thing to consider in between doing a full-fledged new project and after doing Blade Symphony Free-to-Play would be making some modifications to Gal side. And I think we've talked about it. Either we would be starting like we would just do small changes and implement like perks for Patreon people, and then a couple of other like changes, or we would like, because Josh wants a UE4 project to learn on, or we would go like full-fledged and see if like all three of you guys can get on that for like a couple of months or something and actually do what we want to do on it. So, you know, console dev and multiplayer and some other stuff. Just because I do feel like there's still some opportunity there to get that. Yeah, like I feel like, you know, we might be able to put, I don't know, maybe 16K into it and probably get 70K out of it as far as ROI is concerned. If it's multiplayer and the gameplay's changed a little bit less to be more puzzle-centric, so that it's more a shmup than a puzzle game. And consoles would be a big thing if we could port to consoles because it works great on.
Yeah, and it's a new market too.
Yeah,
for consoles. I think consoles is probably going to be the best path forward there.
Yeah, the intent here would be like, what are the bang for the buck things that we could do? It seems like, you know, obviously it would be remaking a menu. So we got mouse control in the menus and then mouse control in the game, and then console ports. And then if we're having pretty good success with that, we would look into doing like multiplayer. But we only have one Steam like marketing run, so we'd kind of have to do it as like a sort of what we're doing with Blade Symphony, is that like do it as a big release kind of thing and save a lot of it up and then nut at the last minute, so to speak.
Which means, I think, marketing wise, if we do put it on consoles, then we get marketing pushes there independent of Steam. So, and
that should hopefully help
that will
put it back into Steam, because I've certainly seen, like, I'll be honest, I didn't know Cuphead was going to be on PC until like a month ago. I thought it was going to be only on PS4. I was like, oh yes, it's going to be on Steam. Okay.
Exotic, yeah.
So as far as that, I mean, that plan, if that plan makes sense, depending on Blade Symphony's success after free-to-play, I'd like us to visit Galaside a little bit to try and get a little bit more out of that so that we can better fund a prototype.
Mm-hmm.
That would be super great for us to do. But I am like taking down some pitch ideas and stuff. I've got like a little pitch. I think I talked to you a little bit about, Garrett.
Yeah.
And I mentioned in the dev channel like a day or two ago that I'm like just slowly adding notes to, and I might when I have some time, like make it into sort of a more full-fledged little bit of a pitch doc. But I'm gonna run for tonight. Tonight's technically date night. So is there anything else you guys want to mention? I would say like take down some pitch notes if you guys are willing to help on Galaside multiplayer after we do Blade Symphony Free-to-Play. Help Josh out, because I think I'll probably move him to being like a full-time asset on that, so that he can learn, and then yeah, that's the plan, I guess, right now in my head.
Good, solid plan.
Okay. Cool. Wouldn't say it's solid. It's just mostly
plan.
Yeah, it's just mostly a plan.
It's better.
Okay. All right. Any other thoughts, feelings, emotions, comments, commentary, compliments?
I'm all right.
You're all awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll actually unlist the video here so they can watch what we talked about, since they couldn't actually.
They couldn't see it.
Yeah, they couldn't see it. All right. Well, I'll talk to you guys hopefully next week. Maybe we get together on Tuesday again and talk more about like pitch new product things. Try and get like Twin and Varix on or something like that. And if you guys want to play Lawbreakers at all this weekend, I'll be playing.
Hit me
for
up.
sure.
I